What if one moment could change your life forever? For Martha Crowell and her son Jacob, that moment came when they crossed paths with Donald Trump. Once a proud U.S. Army veteran, Martha's life took a devastating turn after her husband's tragic accident left her drowning in medical debt. With no job, no home, and only Jacob's innocent smile to keep her going, she struggled to survive on the streets of Brooklyn. But just when all hope seemed lost, fate intervened in the most unexpected way. A chance encounter with one of the most powerful men in America would set off a chain of events that changed everything. How did a single moment transform their lives forever? Stay tuned to find out. Martha Crowell had once served her country with honor as a U.S. Army veteran, but after her service ended, she found herself struggling to find work. Life became even harder when tragedy struck. Her husband, Ben, was killed in a car accident, leaving her not only heartbroken but drowning in medical debt. With no steady income and nowhere to turn, Martha and her young son, Jacob, were forced onto the streets of Brooklyn. Each day was a fight for survival. They spent their nights under a cold, crumbling bridge, surrounded by cardboard boxes, the distant hum of the city their only lullaby. Hunger gnawed at them, and the bitter chill of the night made sleep nearly impossible. Despite the darkness surrounding her, Martha did everything she could to protect Jacob, wrapping him in the warmth of her embrace. As he lay shivering in her arms, his small voice broke the silence. "Mommy, will we ever have a home again?" Martha stroked his hair, forcing a reassuring smile. "Tomorrow, Jacob," she whispered. "We'll find something better." But deep down, she wasn't sure if she still believed it herself. The next morning, Martha and Jacob set out once again, their stomachs empty and their bodies weary. They wandered the city streets, searching for food, warmth, and perhaps a glimmer of hope. As they neared a bustling park, Martha noticed a crowd gathering. Cameras flashed, reporters murmured, and at the center of it all stood a familiar figure, Donald Trump. She had seen him on TV before, but politics and business tycoons had never mattered in her world of survival. She thought about turning away, but Jacob's curious eyes held her in place. Just then, Jacob sneezed. A small sound, but loud enough to turn heads. Martha's face burned with embarrassment as she noticed Trump glance in their direction. To her surprise, he didn't just look. He started walking toward them. Kneeling to Jacob's level, he asked, "What's your name?" "Jacob," the boy answered shyly. Trump's gaze shifted to Martha. "And you are?" "Martha Crowell," she replied, trying to steady her voice. Trump studied her for a moment before asking, "Are you okay? You look like you've been through a lot." Martha hesitated, but something about the way he asked made her decide to speak the truth. "We've been homeless for a while. I'm a veteran, but things haven't been easy." For a moment, Trump said nothing, his expression unreadable. Then with a firm nod, he turned to an aide. "Get their information," he instructed. "Make sure they're taken care of." Martha blinked, unsure if she had heard him correctly. "What do you mean?" she asked cautiously. Trump met her gaze. "I mean," he said with certainty, "I'm going to help you." Later that day, Martha and Jacob found themselves in a place they hadn't been in a long time. A warm office, safe from the cold streets. A kind social worker greeted them, offering them fresh clothes and a hot meal. As Martha wrapped her hands around a steaming cup of tea, the warmth spread through her fingers, reminding her how long it had been since she'd felt true comfort. Jacob, sitting beside her, giggled with delight as he rolled a shiny new toy car across the table, a gift from Trump himself. His laughter filled the room, a sound Martha hadn't heard in what felt like forever. Miss Simmons, the social worker, sat across from Martha and explained the plan. "Mr. Trump has arranged temporary housing for you while we work on a long-term solution." He's also connected us with a program that helps veterans find stable jobs. Martha's hands trembled as she set down her cup. For years she had felt invisible, struggling to survive while the world passed her by. Now, someone had not only seen her, but had chosen to help. She swallowed the lump in her throat and whispered, "Why would he do this? He doesn't even know us." Miss Simmons smiled warmly. "Sometimes, people just want to help." Martha glanced at Jacob, who was still playing with his new toy, his face alight with joy. In that moment, for the first time in years, she dared to believe that maybe, just maybe, things were about to change for the better. In the weeks that followed, Martha's life transformed in ways she had never imagined. With Trump's help, she and Jacob moved into a small but cozy apartment, a place they could finally call home. No more cold nights under a bridge, no more fear of where their next meal would come from. For the first time in years, Martha could breathe. Jacob, once a boy without a stable home, now had a routine. He started attending a local school, making friends, and coming home each day with stories of his adventures. His laughter filled their apartment, a sound that reminded Martha of how far they had come. Seeing him happy, safe, and excited about life again brought tears to her eyes. Meanwhile, Martha found her own sense of purpose. With the help of the Veterans Program, she secured a job as an administrative assistant at a nonprofit dedicated to helping struggling veterans, people who, like her, had felt forgotten. Each day, she walked into work knowing she was making a difference, just as someone had made a difference for her. For the first time in years, hope wasn't just a distant dream. It was her reality. Months later, Martha stood on a stage, looking out at a room filled with veterans, supporters, and the man who had changed her life, Donald Trump. She gripped the microphone tightly, taking a deep breath before speaking. "A few months ago," she began, her voice steady but filled with emotion, "I was at my lowest point. My son and I were living on the streets, with no hope in sight. I felt invisible, forgotten. But then, I met Mr. Trump. He didn't just see a homeless woman and her child. He saw people who deserved a second chance." She glanced at Jacob in the front row, his eyes shining with pride. "Because of his kindness, I now have a home, a job, and a future. My son has a safe place to grow up. I stand here today, not as a woman struggling to survive, but as someone who has been given the chance to thrive." The room erupted in applause. Martha turned to Trump, who had been listening intently. He gave a small nod before responding, "You did the hard work. I just gave you a nudge." Tears welled in Martha's eyes as she smiled. As the applause continued, Jacob ran up to her and hugged her tightly. "Mommy," he whispered, "I'm proud of you." Martha held him close, her heart full. "And I'm proud of us," she whispered back. Martha's story is a powerful reminder that sometimes all it takes is one act of kindness to change a life. Second chances can make all the difference, and we all have the power to be that helping hand for someone in need. Whether big or small, our actions can bring hope where there was once only despair. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like and share it with others. And for more inspiring stories, be sure to subscribe and turn on the notification bell. Thanks for watching, and have a wonderful day.